personal favorites of mine that he's done through the years, Train Spotting, The Full Monty, Ravenous, 28 Weeks Later, and I know many of you guys were big fans of his character in the TV series Stargate Universe. Today he's going to be joining us to talk about the FX series, The Full Monty. That's right, they created a series of The Full Monty and it's streaming exclusively on Hulu. Robert Carlyle will be joining us right here on Sidewalks Entertainment, so do not change that channel. Joining us to talk about the FX series, The Full Monty, I'd like to welcome award-winning actor Robert Carlyle to Sidewalks Entertainment. Hi, Robert. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Lori. It's my pleasure.
So, through your career, you've played some very memorable characters, and you've always had such a very strong presence on screen. How did you start your career as an actor?
Well, that's an interesting one. It's is it all part of a master plan, or are you lucky? I think that any career has to have a certain slice of luck involved, and lucky in the respect of how you start. And how I started was way back, in 1990s with a fantastic director called Ken Loach. Did a movie called Riff Raff back then, and that kind of set the tone for the career that followed.
So reflecting back on your work through the years, apart from your character in The Full Monty, which character is the first character that comes to mind when you think of the most memorable role that you've ever played?
I think possibly, for most people it will be Gaz from The Full Monty. He's definitely up there. And I mean, Begbie from Trainspotting is another one. These two are kind of almost like companion pieces. These two characters, they're completely, they're like chalk and cheese. They're entirely different. But I would think probably those two, particularly Gaz, has been the most well known, I would think.
So when you think back on when you first played Gaz 25 years ago, what do you remember most about that experience of playing this character for the first time?
Well, at the time, it didn't, no one was to know what was going to follow. So it was really just a kind of another one on a list of many, many low-budget British independent films that I'd been involved in. The Full Monty, I know, was made for like about $500,000 or something like that. It was such a small budget. Even back then, that was very little money. So that, I mean, who knew what was going to happen with that? But it took off, exploded to the extent that it did, and became, the highest grossing British independent film of all time. I mean, who knew?
So the FX series, The Full Monty, streaming on Hulu. Tell me a little bit about the series.
Well, Simon Beaufoy, who was the original screenplay writer, had been approached, many times through the years to come up with a sequel, to do a kind of a movie, a Full Monty 2, as it were. But he and I, we were never really interested in doing that. The Full Monty itself is such a kind of complete piece as it is. And it's got such a triumphant ending, the hats go off, the crowd erupts. Where do you go from there? So a couple of years ago, Simon got in touch and he said, well, look, how about having a go at this as an 8-part TV piece when we can really, investigate these guys' lives 25 years down the line. And that to me just seemed like an absolutely brilliant idea, and I was on board almost right away.
So what was it like playing your character Gaz 25 years later and working with some of the original actors from the original 1997 film again?
Slower. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. It's like, it's an old corny thing to say, but it's a bit like wearing an old pair of shoes, really. It was You know, it was relatively easy to get back into the character, and fantastic to be working with, you know, the same guys again, the exact same cast from the original movie are all back. Mm-hmm. We know each other so well. We have a shared kind of bond, a shared experience that's come through, you know, the full Monty. Only myself and those other guys understand what that kind of large, warm shadow of the film Monty has been for all of our lives. So it was a beautiful thing, really, to get back together again.
So among many of the characters that many of the very memorable characters that you've played, many of us remember your character, Nicholas Rush, from the sci-fi series Stargate Universe. Yeah. So fans are hoping for a revival or another Stargate Universe series. Do you think that there's any chance of another Stargate series? And if asked, would you be open to playing your character Nicholas Rush again?
You know, it's one of these things. You never say never. You know, that's I've learned that.
Yeah.
Through the years, you never say never. I mean, I would think it would be unlikely for it to come back. It's a shame because I enjoyed the show. I think a lot of people enjoyed the show. It was unfortunate what happened to it. Excuse me. At that time. MGM, who was were the money at the time, they had went bust, so everything then fell apart. So it's unfortunate that these poor characters, if anyone knows the show, they're still up there in the sky, floating around on that ship.
Yeah.
So whether someone takes it to bring them down to Earth again, who knows?
As I mentioned earlier, you do have such a strong presence on screen. Was there ever a time in your life that you did share similar personality characteristics to some of the, I guess you could say, some of the crazy characters that you've played in the past? I mean, maybe not now, but I mean, like, I don't know, when you were younger, maybe.
Thankfully, no, none of the crazies. It's an interesting thing, though. I mean, the whole notion of acting, especially when it's on a kind of you know, on a natural level, naturalistic kind of everyday characters. What you're always trying to do, certainly what I always was trying to do, is you're trying to get rid of the acting. You're trying to not act. You know, you're trying to not act, you know, and that's believe it or not, one of the most difficult things to do. You're trying to get close to something which is a reality, and so that's always been the kind of the goal for me.
Yeah.
So I mean, of course, when you're playing these crazy characters and stuff like that, and you go down that road that I've just talked about, then you can visit places in your mind you'd rather not go. So it's been at times throughout my career there has been moments where I've got a bit of a fright.
Yeah, well, because you know when we first started speaking, I immediately was like, wow, he's pretty mellow.
Thank you. I am.
But your characters throughout the years they're fantastic. Great work throughout the years. Everyone, be sure to watch more of Robert Carlyle in the FX series The Full Monty, now streaming exclusively on Hulu. You take care, Robert.
Thank you, Lori. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
For more full-length celebrity interviews, visit us at sidewalkstv.com, our YouTube channel, and don't forget to follow us on social media.